Everyone knows Jack Daniel, the man behind one of the world's most iconic whiskeys. His name is synonymous with Lynchburg, Tennessee, and that familiar square bottle of rich, amber Tennessee whiskey. But what if I told you this story doesn't start with Jack at all? What if it began decades earlier, across the ocean, with a woman named Elizabeth? Elizabeth Calaway Daniel, born in 1757, is a name lost to history's whispers, yet she played a pivotal role in shaping a legacy that would echo through time. Before Jack, before Lynchburg, even before Tennessee was carved from the wilderness, Elizabeth's story was unfolding. This isn't just his story. This is her story too. A tale of courage, resilience, and the bonds that tie us to our roots. Her journey from Scotland to America's wild frontiers set in motion events that would lead to a whiskey legend. As a pioneer and possibly even a distiller, Elizabeth laid down roots that would grow into a symbol recognized worldwide. Join me, a sixth great-grandson, as we uncover the untold legacy of the Daniel family. We'll explore the landscapes, the creeks, and the secrets that laid the foundation for what we now know as Jack Daniel's whiskey. Elizabeth Calaway was born in 1757 in the rugged highlands of Scotland, a land known for its wild beauty and harsh realities. At just 16, Elizabeth's life took a dramatic turn. She fell in love with a coachman, a man known to us only by his surname, Andrus. In an act of youthful defiance and passion, they eloped, leaving behind the familiar hills of Scotland for the promise of a new world. Across the Atlantic, but the seas were unforgiving. Tragedy struck during their voyage, and Elizabeth's young husband perished, leaving her alone on foreign shores. It's hard to imagine the fear and loneliness she must have felt, a teenage widow in a strange land. Yet, Elizabeth's spirit was as unyielding as the Scottish Highlands she left behind. By 1778, Elizabeth had found her footing. She married Joseph Daniel, a soldier fighting for American independence in the colony of North Carolina. Joseph was a survivor, a veteran of the Revolutionary War, and together they would embark on a journey that mirrored the spirit of a young nation. They set their sights on the Western Territories, the untamed lands that would one day become Tennessee. With each step westward, Elizabeth and Joseph were not just moving across the landscape, they were moving through history, carving out a place for themselves in the wilds of the New World. The couple, along with their growing family, pushed through the rugged Appalachian Mountains, braved the isolation and the uncertainties of life on the frontier. By 1807, they had settled in the area known today as Franklin County, Tennessee. In these vast forests, Elizabeth's life was a daily test of endurance and adaptability. The land was both a provider and a challenge. It offered natural springs, fertile grounds, and a bounty of wildlife, but demanded the strength to clear it, the wisdom to cultivate it, and the resilience to survive its harsh seasons. Here, Elizabeth was more than just a settler. She was a pioneer, shaping a future for her family against the backdrop of an emerging America. In the early 1800s, Tennessee was a frontier, a wild, untamed land stretching beyond the edge of known civilization. This was the world that Elizabeth Calaway Daniel called home. As she and Joseph settled in what would become Franklin County, their lives became a daily battle against the elements. Imagine the dense forests, filled with towering oaks and maples, the air thick with the sounds of wildlife. This was no place for the faint of heart, but Elizabeth was no ordinary woman. Life on the frontier was demanding. Elizabeth's days were filled with tasks that tested her strength and spirit. From sunrise to sunset, she was at work, tending to the garden, preserving food, raising livestock, and caring for her growing family. She had children ranging from toddlers to young adults, and every hand was needed to survive. In a time before modern conveniences, Elizabeth's skills were essential. She spun and wove fabric, baked bread, and prepared meals from the resources she had on hand. These tasks were not just chores. They were the lifeblood of her family's survival. Women like Elizabeth were the backbone of the frontier. While history often remembers the men who explored and fought for the land, it was the women who built the homes, nurtured the families, and held the communities together. Elizabeth's strength wasn't just physical, it was also in her resolve and her ability to adapt. She endured harsh winters, the ever-present threat of illness, and the isolation of living miles from the nearest neighbor. Elizabeth's resilience was tested in 1811 and 1812 when the earth beneath her feet began to shake. The New Madrid earthquakes, among the largest in North American history, were felt over 1,000 miles away. Elizabeth would later recount the terror of the Big Shake as the ground trembled and the trees swayed. Her family was over 300 miles away from the epicenter, yet the quakes left a lasting impression, a reminder of nature's unpredictable power. Despite these challenges, Elizabeth's determination never wavered. She was a pillar of strength for her family, a guiding force that helped them thrive. Census records confirm that even after Joseph's death in 1814, Elizabeth remained, raising her children and grandchildren, passing down not only her skills, but her indomitable spirit. For nearly 40 years, Elizabeth lived off the land, drawing sustenance from the waters of Hurricane Creek, a place that still holds echoes of her story. A centuries-long family tradition of stewardship is also Elizabeth's enduring legacy, realizing there are still traces of her ginseng and herb gardens in the hollows of Hurricane Creek to this day. Elizabeth Calaway Daniel's story doesn't end with her resilience on the frontier. It's possible her influence extended far beyond her family's homestead, seeping into the roots of what would become one of America's most iconic spirits, whiskey. Elizabeth was born in Scotland, a land renowned for its rich whiskey-making traditions. It's no stretch to imagine that she carried this knowledge with her across the Atlantic and into the wilds of Tennessee. Scotland in the 18th century was a place where whiskey was more than just a drink. It was a part of life, a skill passed down through generations. The Scottish knew the art of distillation well, using barley and the pure water of their highlands to create a spirit that warmed the body and soul. When Elizabeth left her homeland, she might have brought with her these cherished skills and traditions. As she settled into her new life, it's possible she found herself among other Scots-Irish immigrants, many of whom would become early American distillers. The Tennessee landscape, with its abundance of corn, pure limestone-filtered water, and fertile soil, was ideal for distilling whiskey. Here, the Scottish traditions blended with the New World's bounty and the corn-based whiskey, what we now recognize as Bourbon and Tennessee whiskey, began to take shape. Distilling wasn't just about making a drink, it was a means of survival. Whiskey became a valuable commodity in the barter economy of the early American frontier. It was used as currency, a form of payment that held its value when coins and cash were scarce. Women like Elizabeth, who were well-versed in the domestic arts, played a crucial role in this process. They knew how to transform raw materials into valuable products. Imagine Elizabeth standing by a copper still, the fire crackling, as she carefully tended to the brewing mash. Perhaps she distilled spirits not only for drinking but for medicinal purposes, to prevent spoilage of grains, and as a means of keeping the family economy afloat. Even though records are scarce, Elizabeth's possible connection to distillation aligns with the broader history of women's roles in whiskey-making. Before whiskey was bottled and branded, it was made in small batches, often by women, who passed down their knowledge through generations. These early practices laid the foundation for the whiskey industry that would later flourish. Elizabeth's influence on American whiskey might be a whisper in the background of history, but it's a powerful one. Her legacy can be seen in the traditions that continued through her descendants, culminating in the establishment of Jack Daniel's distillery in Lynchburg. It's a legacy not just of survival, but of cultural exchange, innovation, and resilience, a testament to the enduring spirit of the pioneers who shaped this country. As the years went on, Elizabeth Calaway Daniel's life remained rooted in the rugged lands of Tennessee. She had survived the frontier, raised her children, and laid the foundations for generations to come. But even with all her strength, Elizabeth faced one battle that she could not win alone: the fight for recognition and justice for her late husband's service in the Revolutionary War. In 1836, Congress passed a law granting pensions to widows of Revolutionary War veterans. It was a glimmer of hope for women like Elizabeth, who had endured so much. But securing this pension was no easy task. Elizabeth applied in 1844, already 30 years after the death of her husband. She would apply again in 1853, just months before her death. Each time, her request was denied. The government demanded proof of her marriage, proof of Joseph Daniel's service, proof that had long since been lost to time. Imagine the frustration and heartache Elizabeth must have felt, knowing her husband had fought for the very freedoms now denying her recognition. Without proper records, her word wasn't enough. The story of her life, her sacrifices, her husband's sacrifices, reduced to a pile of rejected papers. Yet, Elizabeth's legacy didn't fade away with those denied applications. Decades later, her great-grandson, Felix Motlow, took up the mantle, determined to honor her memory and reclaim the pride of being descendants of a Revolutionary War hero. His efforts culminated in the recognition of her story, ensuring that Elizabeth Calaway Daniel's name would not be forgotten. Her struggle for recognition is more than a personal tale. It's a reflection of the countless women whose stories have been lost to history, women who fought not with weapons, but with resilience, courage, and love for their families. Elizabeth's life and the efforts of her descendants remind us that history is not just written in books, it lives in the actions and legacies of those who came before us. Elizabeth's legacy isn't just a chapter in a history book, it's a living, breathing presence that I feel every time I step into the forests near Hurricane Creek. In a quiet part of the woods, far from the hustle of the modern world, I found traces of her life, not in a document or a photograph, but in the very soil, the air, the whispers of the trees. Here, nature holds echoes of the past, and in those echoes, I found Elizabeth. Her story of resilience and determination resonates deeply with me. It's more than just knowing where I came from, it's about understanding the roots that connect us all. Elizabeth lived to be 97 years old, a testament to her strength and spirit. Her life, her struggles for recognition, and her love for her family are a part of my story too. As I navigate the same landscapes she once knew, I'm reminded of her courage to face the unknown, to build a life against all odds. Her spirit guides me, just as the waters of Hurricane Creek sustained her. Founding Untangled Roots was my way of honoring that legacy. It's not just about preserving history, it's about living it, learning from it, and using it to shape a better future. Elizabeth's story reminds us that history is not just about dates and events. It's about people, ordinary people who do extraordinary things. Through Untangled Roots, I hope to continue Elizabeth's legacy, exploring the intricate connections between our past, our environment, and our identity. Elizabeth Calaway Daniel's story is a testament to the power of resilience, heritage, and the enduring spirit of family. Her life, woven into the fabric of America's early history, laid down roots that have grown into legacies known around the world. From the rugged landscapes of Scotland to the quiet forests of Tennessee, Elizabeth's journey is a powerful reminder that our past is always with us, guiding us, shaping us, and inspiring us. At Untangled Roots, we believe that understanding our history is crucial to shaping our future. By uncovering the stories of our ancestors, like Elizabeth, we not only honor their lives, but also gain a deeper understanding of our place in the world. We invite you to join us on this journey, exploring the past, connecting with the environment, and finding our own roots in the stories of those who came before us. If you found the story as compelling as we did, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Join Untangled Roots as we continue to explore the untold stories of our heritage and work together to preserve the environment for future generations. Together, we can uncover the truth, honor the past, and inspire a better future.